Hey guys, TRScientist here, and today I'm in r/RegularRevenge for day number 8. Last episode was a wild one because I literally just read the story for half an hour. Actually, no, more than half an hour. It was 34 minutes of just one story. And I have other stories I need to read. Like this one. Roommate kicks me out to live with her boyfriend. I took everything I paid for. This was 12 years ago, but my friends still have a laugh when I tell the story. My best friend of 5 years and I were 18 years old and decided to go live on our own and rent an apartment together. The apartment was small and cheap, but in a great location. We only had 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a small kitchen. Decided not to split costs for furniture, so that when either one of us moves out, they could just take the stuff they paid for. Like, she brought the dining table and chairs, I brought the microwave. Over time, smaller things like a bookshelf and some door handles. Landlord was very flexible with stuff like this. And other knickknacks we paid 50-50 for. So I decided to put another floor in my room, as did she. Cue 6 months later and our relationship deteriorated. She was blowing me off to hanging with mutual friends, just to be with her boyfriend, and kept buying him stuff. He was a total asshole, the type to believe that women should do all the household chores. I often found him in the shared kitchen in his underwear, but she was head over heels and only had eyes for him. He still lived with his parents, so he was keen to move out and wanted to live with her. The apartment would have definitely been too small for the 3 of us, and I wouldn't want to be the third wheel anyway. We weren't talking much at one point, and I didn't think too much about it. Think it would just blow over and the relationship would end. After 8 months, she told me she wanted to live together with her boyfriend, and she wanted me to give me time. She wanted me to give me time to find a new place. I wasn't surprised, as they have grown closer together and I wasn't feeling comfortable anymore in the apartment anyway. Also, the landlord that lived in the same building was becoming very hostile and racist towards me. I'm white, but come from an immigrant background. I had a look at some rooms to rent, but no luck. It was either too expensive or I didn't like the location, so was thinking about going back to my parents. 1 month after she told me she wanted to give me time, she sent me a text she was done with me. Don't know what set it off, and I needed to be moved out this weekend. It was Friday. I told her my rent was paid off until the end of the month, so no. To which she transferred the money for my rent and told me to be moved out. I called my family to help me move to my parents. Luckily, I didn't own much stuff. My mum was so angry she bought spray cans to spray on the walls, which I talked her out of. But we did decide to take everything I paid for. I took the flooring I put in with me. The linoleum was easy to cut out, and we left the scraps that we were unable to get out. Remember the door handles and bookshelf they paid half for? My dad sawed the bookshelf in half and put half of it in the trash. We disassembled all the door handles and I paid for, and took the same halves of the handles so they wouldn't work anymore. Like, she had like 3 or 4 door handles which were incomplete. I forgot, no lie, to give the keys to the landlord when I moved out. She called me really angry, telling I have to give them back or she would put new locks in. Remembering she was a racist asshole before I told her to put new locks in then. In the end, I never heard from the roommate again. Her boyfriend moved in with her and the landlord started terrorizing her. She eventually moved, and what I heard, her relationship ended after about a year. So remember, chicks before dicks and bros before hoes. Chicks before dicks is not something I've ever heard before. Dear, my best friend and roommate kicked me out for our apartment to live with her boyfriend, and I took all the stuff I paid for, including half of everything I paid half for. I love how the dad just like, just pulls out a sword. It's like, let's get cutted. Cuts the bookshelf in half, throws out the girl's half, and takes the other half. That is, at that point, that's sort of getting back into the petty territory. And it did say that this is in the petty category, so I guess it counts as a petty story. Court manager stealing, got a hefty raise. This happened a few years ago. When I was 16, I got my first job working for a franchise-owned pizza place. I worked there until I was 24. When I was 19, I received the shift leader and got a 0.3 cent raise. Our store was pretty slow and we only had a handful of employees there, so I understood. One day, the franchise owner comes in when I'm running my shift and to tell me I'll be getting a new manager. The franchise owner gave me his personal number and said if I needed anything to call him if the new manager had any problems. So the next day, I'm working my 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. shift and the new manager comes in. We'll call him Stan. We talk a little more and he asks why there isn't an assistant manager. I let him know we probably don't make enough to pay an assistant and manager. He said he would worry about that and he left. I jumped to the conclusion that he was going to make me the assistant. Wrong. I closed that night and had to come in at 4 p.m. the next day. When I did, Stan was there with a girl I've never seen before wearing one of our uniforms. He said it was his roommate, Wendy. She had never worked for a pizza place before, but she just lost her job. He hired her as the assistant manager and completely changed my schedule and severely cut my hours. Oh, and guess who had to train her? Yep. Before Stan and Kelly, I worked 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. 4 days a week, then 4 to close on 2 other days. Now I just had 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. 5 days a week. No more overtime. That severely hurt me financially, but I sucked it up. This place was pretty much in my backyard, and I loved my job before all this mess. The next couple of weeks are okay, except we are coming up short every night that I close. Usually no more than $10, but that's a lot. And it was coming back on me because I'm the one who does the nightly inventory, paperwork, and deposits. I brought the shortage problem to Stan, and he told me if it kept happening, he would start taking it from my check. I had never stolen a penny from this place, and I felt pretty attacked. He says he wasn't accusing me, just letting me know what he would have to do. I said fine. Every day from now on, when I close, I want to do a shift change. A shift change is basically counting down the drawers, which would help figure out where the shortages are coming from. He agrees. The very next day, I go in at 4 and start clocking in and all that fun stuff before Wendy leaves. I look at the order screen for the day to see how well we did for lunch, money-wise, and I noticed something. Oh my gosh. It said at 12, a customer just happened to be one of my regulars, called and ordered 10 pizzas for pickup. It said the order was cancelled. They had never cancelled before, so I was concerned. Quick side note, I feel like I was being more of a manager than both of mine put together. But by the way, I was in the back office counting the drawers. Wendy was covering the front. I picked up the phone and called the customer from earlier. I didn't ask why he cancelled. I asked how his experience was today since we had a new manager. He said it was fine, except she needed to learn how to work the credit card machine. Apparently she told him she could only take cash. He said he left, went to the ATM, came back and paid $80 in cash for the pizzas. He said other than that, everything was fine. I asked to confirm and he said he most definitely didn't cancel. So here's one possibility. The credit card machine did go down and she could only accept cash, so she cancelled the order in the computer, so they came back and paid, and she just forgot to ring it up again. That would be harmless. Instead, I think she's stealing. I knew if I went to Stan, he wouldn't do anything about it, so I called our franchise owner, Eric. I asked his opinion, and he says he thinks I'm right. So he tells me what to do. First, I wasn't allowed to say a word about it to Stan or Wendy. He said, let Wendy leave and finish out the day as usual. He said, if she's not stealing, you'll come up at 80 over at the end of the night. If she's stealing, we should break even. I finished counting. We were $1 short. Side note again, if this is too hard to follow, I'm so sorry. The next day is when the magic happens. I go in at 4 as usual. Wendy is there waiting for Stan to pick her up. Then Eric walks in. He tells her to follow her to the office and tells me to send Stan back when he gets here. Stan comes in and asks why Eric is there. I shrug and tell him he's wanted in the office. Maybe 20 minutes later, Stan walks out, brushes past me and gets in his car. Wendy comes out next and tells me she hopes I'm happy. Eric hadn't come out of the office yet, so I went back there to talk to him. He said in 3 weeks they stole over 1,000 between them, and he would have never known if it wasn't for me. He then says, oh, you're the new assistant manager. I'm going to give you 13 per hour, and we will consider more of a preliminary period. 13 an hour. I was making $8.50 before this. I stayed a few more years after this and left to do the mum thing. I actually miss it sometimes. Wendy and Stan's Facebook stalked me for a couple months after. It was pretty hilarious. If you read all that, you're a trooper, and thank you. Hope this fits you. At DLDR, new assistant manager and manager were stealing. I caught it, got both of them fired, and a promotion with an almost $4 raise. It's a $4.50 raise. Yeah. It's actually almost a $5 raise. It was a $4.50 raise. Oh my. Why do you feel like you have to steal from your company? I do not get it. Like, I get it if you feel like your business is screwing you, but screwing the company over for trying to screw you is not how you do it. What you do is you do what OP does. You bring it up with your higher ups, and the people doing the bad stuff get screwed in the end. Now, I'm going to end this episode here. Links will be in the description to the main channel and also this channel where you're watching this episode that has links on the screen to the playlist and the last episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when the next video comes out. A ding, a ding. I'm Mad Scientist. Mad Scientist out.